name's Ms. Gosler, and today we're going to talk about the first day of clarinet. So I'm sure you probably already have your clarinet case. You can hold it up, and normally there'll be an emblem on the front, right about here, and it's normally kind of colorful. It has the brand name of your instrument. That's always a really good clue as to the top of your case. Another way you can figure out which way's top and which one's bottom are the latches. Most of the time, the latches will flip up, and that means this top side is the top of the case. Once you've figured out for sure which side is the top and which side's the bottom, I like to stick a sticker right on the case so that you can never forget, as make sure you always have that sticker facing up, and then you'll never have your clarinet accidentally fall out on you. Okay, so open up your instrument's case and you'll see your clarinet inside. So we want to put it together first, and the first step I would say is take the bell. This is what it looks like. It looks like the shape of a bell, so it's very easy to remember, and take the lower joint. The lower joint is bigger than this upper joint. You can see in your case how this one is bigger. This is the lower joint. See how it's longer than this upper joint? You know that's the lower joint. So you'll take your lower joint and put it in your right hand, and you're going to use your fingers and put them right in the tone holes. See how I cover each hole? That's how you're going to hold on to your instrument. If you start grasping it in other odd ways, sometimes you'll bend the keys and then you'll have to go take it in to get fixed at the repairman. So grabbing it with the tone holes covered and the barrel in your the bell in your left hand, you're going to put the two joints together and slightly twist and push them together. So it'll look like that. The next step is attaching the upper joint to the lower joint. You'll probably find when you first get your clarinet that it's a little bit hard to put those joints together, and that's because the cork is dry. So you're going to want to use your cork grease. It comes in a little tube like this, and just apply a little bit at each joint, just push a little on, and then you'll spread it with your fingers, twist it around, and it'll make the cork go together much easier. You'll probably have to apply cork grease more frequently when your clarinet is new. Once the cork gets broken in, you won't have to do it very often, maybe every once a month or something like that. So, next you're going to take in your right hand, actually it might be easier to do it with your left hand. Take your left hand and put your fingers in the tone holes just like you did before. And same reason, you don't want to be bending the metal when you grab the clarinet. And then your right joint you're going to take in your right hand, and you're going to put your hand right down by the bell, and that's a really safe place to grab it. And just like the barrel or the bell and the lower joint, you're going to push them together and twist gently. Perfect. You'll see that there are these two pieces of metal that connect the upper and the lower joint right here. Let me show them to you more closely. They're right there. See them? You want to make sure that they're pretty well lined up, and it's kind of hard to see on the camera, but see, that's not lined up, and now they are lined up. If you're confused about it, you can ask your teacher, and he or she can give you many more details on how to get those so that they're nicely lined up. Another way to know is if the holes in the front are nicely aligned. That'll help you know that you're on the right track. Alright, we're getting pretty close. So next you're going to take the barrel. That's the short round piece that looks like this. And grasping your clarinet in your left hand with those tone holes covered with your fingers, just like before, you're going to take your barrel in your right hand and slightly twist it on. Last, but certainly not least, is your mouthpiece. And you'll notice that your mouthpiece is flat on one side and round on the other. So the little flat side is right along there. So the flat side is always going to face you when you're playing, and so you can also line it up with this key right here, your register key. So carefully putting the clarinet together just like you did before and holding it with the tone holes covered. Twist that mouthpiece right on. See how I've lined up the flat part, which is right there, right in line with this key in the back. Perfect. Next, we're going to be putting on our reed. So the reed is what actually vibrates and makes the sound when you're playing clarinet. You're going to want to put it in your mouth and just get it a little bit wet before you put it on. Normally I like to put my reed in my mouth while I'm putting my clarinet together, so it's ready to go by the time it's all put together. So before you actually put your reed on, you're going to want to put your ligature on first. And you'll slip it on just like that. Then you'll slide your reed underneath it. This way, when you put your ligature on, you won't accidentally splice your reed. Sometimes that can happen. When you put your reed on, you're going to want to center it so it's not crooked, and you're going to want to see just a little tiny hairline of black at the very top. Let me show you what that looks like. Can you see how there's very, very little? You can almost not see any black at the top. Here's an example of what you don't want your reed to look like. On this mouthpiece, you can see far too much black. Do you see that big strip? That means that your reed is on too low. You can't see it at all from the back, and there's just far too much black in the front. You don't want that. It's going to be super hard to play it. On this mouthpiece, the reed is far too high. You can't see any black from the front, and when you turn it around, you can even see the yellow reed from the front. So this is going to be also very difficult to play. So once you have it positioned that there's just a little hairline of reed or black showing above the reed, you're going to want to take your ligature and give it a few twists. You don't want to crank it down. It's not going to be going anywhere. You just need it to be secured and firm, but not cranked all the way there. When you hold clarinet, you're always going to have your right hand on the bottom, and there's a thumb rest here that sticks out. You're going to rest your thumb on that, or your clarinet will rest on your thumb. And then your left hand will always be on top, and there's a thumb hole right here in the back. That's where your thumb will go. You're never going to want to hold your clarinet like this, or to the side, up, down. You're going to want it out kind of like this. And you're going to want to have it right in between your knees. So kind of line it up right between your legs. That will help you so that you know you're on the right track. If you also notice my arms, they're pretty straight. My wrists aren't bent at a strange angle like this or like that. They're pretty straight with the rest of my forearm. My fingers are also always going to be nicely curved. You can see how they're ready to go. They can move quickly like this. If you start playing like this with straight fingers, it's going to be really hard to cover the holes and really hard to play fast, and you're going to need to be able to do both of those to play clarinet well. So I think that's about all you need to know about holding your clarinet. Let's talk about what we do now when we're finished playing. First, you're going to want to open up your case, and you're going to loosen your ligature and take off your reed. So your reed, hopefully you'll have a safe place to put that. When you buy them, they come in little plastic cases, so you could put it back in there. Or you can buy an inexpensive reed case at the music store, and that'll help keep your reed nice and flat, so it'll be easier to play. Then you're going to take it apart in almost reverse order. First, you're always going to take off the mouthpiece first. And every once in a while, you may want to wash your mouthpiece, maybe like every month or so. You can just wash it in warm water with a little bit of soap, and then put it back in your case. Then before we continue to take apart the clarinet, you always want to swab it out. And so you'll have a little swab that looks kind of like this and has a long line and a weight attached to one end of it. So you put the weight in on either side of the clarinet. It can go in the top or the bottom, it doesn't matter. And give it a nice gentle pull through the instrument. If you start yanking it, it could get stuck. And if you feel that it won't move anymore, then don't keep pulling, because it might get stuck in there permanently and you might have to take it to the repair shop or your teacher. So if you feel like it's maybe getting caught, just ask your teacher and he or she can help you before it gets really stuck in there. Okay, so you want to swab it out a few times, 2 or 3 times I would say. And then you're going to continue in reverse order of how we put it together. So you'll take off your barrel first, put it away, and then just like before, you're going to cover your tone holes with your hands. You're going to use your left hand you're going to cover the upper joint with your left tone hole, or your fingers, and then your right hand down by this barrel, and twist it just like before and pull it apart. Put it back in your case. Then your right hand cover the tone holes of the lower joint, and then twist off the barrel and put it away, just like that. Now you may see some of your brass friends, players who play trumpet or trombone or some of those other instruments, they might talk about bathing their instrument. Don't do that for clarinet. You don't ever want to put it in water. In fact, if you are outside for marching band or something like that, you might even want to be careful about taking your clarinet out at those times, because in rain and in a bath, the pads that seal the holes will come right off. So you don't ever want to do that. You just need to swab it out. That's the best way to clean it. Alright, so that's pretty much it. Make sure you close your case, close those latches down so it doesn't fall out, and you're good to go.